everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know we love exploring how AI is changing the game in education, and today we're getting into something really exciting, prompt engineering.
And we're glad to have you here.
It's not just a buzzword, though, it's like this is about giving you, the educators, the real power to shape how AI works in your classrooms. And the best part is you're already like halfway there. It's
Exactly.
not about like becoming a coding whiz overnight or anything. It's about taking what you already do best, giving clear instructions, and applying that to AI.
It is fascinating how this idea of prompt engineering takes something educators have been doing for, well, forever, making those clear, engaging lesson plans, putting together thoughtful assignments, and translates it to the world of AI. You're the architect, right? You're designing how the AI interacts with your students.
It's like having a superpowered teaching assistant.
In a way, yeah.
Like imagine quizzes that adapt to how each student is doing in real time. Our source called this individualized assessment, and honestly, game changer.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
What's so exciting about this concept is that it completely flips the script.
No more one size fits all.
Right. Instead of the student trying to fit into this rigid system we've always had, the learning actually adapts to them. That's the promise of adaptive learning, really put into practice.
And it gets even cooler because our source talked about how prompt engineering can even help teachers personalize instruction, like differentiate. Think about asking an AI to explain, say, photosynthesis to a third grader. Totally different explanation than to a high schooler. And it can do it.
Yeah. I remember this one study they mentioned in the source. It talked about how students who used AI tools, especially those tutoring systems, they showed so much improvement, especially the students who were struggling to keep up in the, traditional classroom.
It's amazing to think about how we can actually use this tech to close those learning gaps, so every student gets that aha moment. And speaking of bridging gaps, our source also highlighted how incredible prompt engineering could be for multilingual classrooms.
Oh, absolutely. Just imagine a student who's new to the country, maybe trying to work their way through Shakespeare.
Tough.
With the right prompts, AI could provide real-time translations of those trickier words or phrases.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the text accessible, but it doesn't interrupt that flow of learning.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. Talk about breaking down those barriers. And the coolest part is this tech isn't just about like making things easier to understand. It can actually help students be more creative. The source talked about using AI for brainstorming ideas for projects. It's like having a virtual brainstorming partner.
Exactly. It's about moving past memorization and into those higher order thinking skills.
Yeah.
The source actually gave a great example. They talked about using AI to design like a really complex scenario, maybe a city facing a water shortage. The students could then brainstorm solutions, but they'd have to consider all the different angles, social impacts, economic impacts, the environment.
Wow. So it's about real world problem solving.
Exactly.
That's amazing. And it gets even, more interesting. The source talked about how prompt engineering can help teachers with some of the, shall we say, less exciting tasks like grading essays. Imagine having AI help you give detailed feedback. Talk about a time saver.
Think about all that time you could spend actually interacting with your students. That's what matters, right?
Exactly.
But we have to remember, even with all this amazing tech, human guidance, it's essential. We're talking about giving teachers superpowers, not like replacing them.
Totally. It's about finding that balance, right? Speaking of balance, though, our source did paint a pretty incredible, maybe even a little overwhelming picture of the future. Personalized learning environments everywhere you look, AI teaching assistants. It's exciting, but honestly, kind of daunting. What happens to classrooms as we know them?
It's true. It brings up a lot of big questions. Like the source brought up the importance of access, of making sure all these amazing tools are available to everyone, not just certain groups. And of course, there's teacher training. How do we help educators thrive in this new world?
It is. It's like, whoa, where do we even start? But you know what? The source actually said that the best way to get ready for this future is to just kind of dive in.
Exactly. Jump right in. They even mentioned a few AI tools that educators can try out, get familiar with, like right now.
Yeah, they actually named some specific platforms. That was really helpful, especially I think for those of us who were, maybe just starting out with AI. And here's the thing, right? The source made this point really clear. Prompt engineering, it isn't about like memorizing a bunch of commands. It's a field that's constantly like evolving.
Which makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
It's all about being curious, wanting to experiment, learning alongside the technology as it changes.
So for all of you listening out there, what gets you excited about this? What's the biggest potential you see for prompt engineering in your classrooms? And what questions, honestly, does all this bring up for you?
Because as you explore this, and you should, remember, you're not alone in this. There's this whole community out there. Educators, researchers, developers, all trying to figure this out. Connect with them, collaborate, share what you're learning.
We want to hear all about it. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into prompt engineering for educators. Keep exploring, keep experimenting.
And keep those creative sparks flying.
That's it for us. It really does feel like we're, at the very beginning of something huge.
It
Right?
is, but that's what makes it so exciting.
Right. And the source actually makes this point that, the best way to get ready for all this is to just kind of, dive in.
Exactly. And they even gave some examples, like specific AI tools that educators could start playing with, today even. Familiarity goes a long way, I always say.
Totally. They actually named a few. I thought that was really helpful, especially for those of us who, we're not quite there yet with all the AI tools out there.
Right, exactly.
And here's the thing, right? They emphasized that prompt engineering, it isn't like, here's your list of commands, go memorize them. It's way more dynamic than that.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's all about that curiosity, that willingness to experiment and, to learn alongside the technology, because it's going to keep changing.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, what excites you the most about all of this? What do you see as the biggest potential for prompt engineering in your classrooms? And honestly, what questions does this all bring up for you? Because as you're exploring all of this, and we hope you do, remember that, you're not alone in this at all. There's this whole amazing community of people, educators, researchers, developers, who are all like grappling with these same things. So connect with them, share what you're learning. We'd love to hear your thoughts too. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into prompt engineering for educators.
Keep those creative sparks flying.
That's it for us. Thanks for joining us.